Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the team. Glad to see you for another year. Yeah, I have good hope that our team is going to do a lot better than we did last year. Last year, we did absolutely terrible. We won 4 games out of 600. It's no wonder we lost so much. For some reason, they scheduled our team to play 600 games, and every other team only had about 50. Yeah, no, mathematically doesn't make a lot of sense, but there were so many teams, and they just had a lot of them playing us over and over again. It's like the league was clearly conspiring against us to tire us out so that we would do terrible, and it frickin' worked. Well, guess what? The schedule just came out today, and yeah, now it's going to be a lot more fair. Forgive me for being rude. Yeah, I was just listening to John Fogerty, the song Center Field. Put me in, coach. Yeah, I was listening to it on repeat to get me pumped. So you want to be a first baseman, right? Cool. Well, I can definitely give you some tips and tricks on how you can be successful as our first baseman. So, as you can see, I have batting gloves on, and we're not going to want to have both gloves on when we're playing defense. In fact, a lot of people don't even have both gloves on when on offense. A lot of them just wear one glove or even no gloves at all. I personally recommend using both gloves when you bat because the shocks on the bat when you hit the ball are nasty. So, best to absorb the shocks as much as you can. But it's hard to throw when you have one of these gloves on. So I'm gonna take one of these off real quick and free my throwing hand. I'm left-handed. You may be right-handed, but of course, because I'm left-handed and I have the left-handed glove, that's how I'm going to demonstrate. Now, when I play defense, I like to leave the glove on my recessive hand, the one that I'm going to wear my mitt on. Glove under glove. That's how I roll. Most people don't do this. It's something I've been doing since I was a child, so that's what's comfortable for me. And you should be doing what's comfortable for you as well on the field, so long as it is legal. Like you can't have a mitt that's super distracting to the batter, for instance. But you absolutely can have a batting glove under your mitt. That is perfectly allowed if that is comfortable for you, like it is for me. So, let's talk first base. One of two positions that I played as a kid. And so I have a bit of expertise playing first base. I'm not the end-all be-all expert, I will admit that. But I am the coach of the team that is responsible for sharing what you can do in each position, particularly the ones that I have expertise in. Now, we have other coaches if you want to switch to another base, if you want to go to shortstop, if you want to pitch, catch, play outfield. I can give tips on outfield too. But as far as infield goes, I am first base all the way. Mainly because I'm left-handed and it feels kind of awkward to turn like this and then throw like that when people who are right-handed get the ball and then they just turn to their left like that. I recommend right-handed people play the other infield positions for that very reason. So the way I'm going to walk you through how first base works, I'm going to ask you a series of questions to test your knowledge, and you give me an answer and I'll tell you if you're correct. If you're not, we'll go over what is correct. Sound good? Cool. So, let's say that there's nobody on base. The ball's hit to you. It's a ground ball. And it's a soft grounder. And you have to run forward to get the ball. But you are nowhere near the foul line. So you can't just run over and tag the runner out. What do? That's right. You throw it to the pitcher. The pitcher, if they're paying attention, will cover first base for you because they are the closest. Now, sometimes the second baseman might cover first, but usually it's the pitcher. If the pitcher throws and they see that the ball is grounded to you, they're going to start running over to first so that when you get the ball, when you take the grounder, you can turn around and throw it to first with the pitcher covering. Yep. Now, good job. Now, what should you do if the ball is popped up and going right to you? Since you're on first base, should you catch the ball? Absolutely you should. Just because you're right near the bag and you could just like drop it and pick it up and run over and touch the bag before the runner, you may not always beat the runner to the bag, especially if it's a pop-up. If it's a pop-up, the runner will have plenty of time to get to the bag before you can even catch it. So always catch the ball if you can. Now there is one exception though. If the ball is lightly popped in your general direction, you have to charge it. Should you dive forward to catch it? In most cases, no. It would look pretty badass, but I don't recommend it because, again, the pitcher is going to cover. If there's going to be plenty enough time for you to throw to first, I recommend you do that because you don't want to destroy your body unnecessarily. Okay? Diving can hurt, especially if you do it on the dirt. I've had to dive on the dirt a few times, but I only do that when absolutely necessary. Like, say that they hit a line drive and it's to your right or even to your left, but typically to your right, because if it's to your left, there's a good chance it's going to go foul. Don't assume that though. Don't assume that though. But if you can dive to the side and grab it, that is preferable, because as an infielder, it is your job to do whatever you can to make sure that it does not go in the outfield. There's absolutely no benefit to the defensive team if the ball reaches the outfield, except if a pop-up or a fly ball is hit and the outfielders can just catch it in the air. That's the one exception. But even then, if there's somebody on third and the ball is hit deep, they could just tag up. They could just keep their foot on the bag, and once the outfielder catches the ball, they're not going to have to go back and tag the bag because they're already doing that, so they can just race home. Now, same thing is true if a line drive is hit towards you, albeit to the side. They might want to tag up because they think you're going to catch the ball. Okay? So they don't want you to be able to throw them out because you're closer than the outfielders are, right? So best you catch it, because as an infielder, you can easily throw them out at home. But if you just let the ball go into the outfield, they're easily going to be able to score a run. There's nothing you can do about it. So always make sure that if you can get the ball, get it. Even if it's a sharp grounder and you have to dive for that, again, if it's to your side, then yeah, do it. But if it's towards you, then you just need to squat down, maybe run towards the ball so it takes less time to get it. Like, you don't want to stay where you are. You don't want to stay planted and just wait till the ball comes to you. Because if you do that, that's more time for the ball to get to you, which means that's more time for the runner to reach first. So instead, you want to charge it. That's what my coaches always said. Charge it. Charge the ball. Go after it, and when you get close, then get down, pick it up, and throw it to the pitcher who's covering. If you do that, it will minimize the amount of time that is needed to get the runner out. Now, say that the ball is grounded to you softly, and it's close to the foul line, but it is a fair ball. What do? That's right, you want to charge it, pick it up, and tag the runner out. Tag the runner out. Now, some might say you can easily just throw to the pitcher and not have to worry about the runner. That is true, but what if you make a bad throw? Even Major League Baseball players make terrible throws every now and then. We've all seen it happen. We've all got pissed off at it if it's our own team doing it. But us amateur players are definitely a lot more prone to that. So keep that in mind. I don't want it to get too much in your head, obviously. When you throw the ball, don't think too much about your technique, because sometimes you're going to get so hung up on that and it makes you throw poorly anyway. So what I recommend is practice your throw all the time so you develop that muscle memory, just like basketball players do. When they, when they shoot hoops, it seems like they're just mindlessly doing it. It's because they are. Their subconscious is trained and it has the pattern down. That's where the muscle memory comes in. It doesn't feel like you're remembering how to do it. It just automatically happens. You got to get to that point. But until you do, if you have other ways to get the runner out, do that, i.e. tagging them. Now, they may be able to like run around you. Like there's debates on going in and out the baseline. But in our league, you are absolutely allowed to go around the defensive player if they're like in your way in the baseline. You are allowed to do that, but you can only go so far. However, that space is enough for some people. In fact, some people might even jump over you. If you're like squatting down, they can jump over you. I've seen that happen. So just be ready. Don't just stand there passively and wait for them to just run into you. Some of them may give up, but some won't. I sure as hell won't. If I'm running towards first, I'm going to put up a fight. Even if the chance of me succeeding are slim, I still am going to do whatever I can to get to first. Same when I pop up. If I pop up and it's in the infield and it's not ruled an infield fly, say that the bases are empty, it's not going to be ruled an infield fly. They actually have to catch the ball to get me out. I will never assume that they're going to catch the ball. I just run to first, assuming that they may drop it, because in the event that they do, I'll already be at the bag. Whereas if I don't, they drop it, they can still pick it up and throw me out. Always play like the runner is that aggressive. You want to be that aggressive on the field too, on defense. So, let's say that there's a run on first, okay? And the ball's grounded to you. What do you do? No, you do not want to step on first to get the runner out at first, unless there's two outs. Okay, when there's two outs, always just go for the runner at first. That's the most certain out, because the other runners will be leading off the bag so that they'll be closer to their target bases when the ball is hit, whereas the batter is way back at the plate. They have the full 90 feet to run. However, if it's not two outs, you're going to want to throw to second to force out the runner at second. And after you completely release the ball from your hand, do not just stare at the ball and the second baseman or shortstop, whoever's covering, to make sure that it gets to them. Instead, assume that it will and run to first, because once you release the ball, there's nothing you can do to change the trajectory of your throw. Okay? So you did what you did. So after you completely release the ball, immediately run to cover first and be ready to get the ball again, because they're going to throw the ball back to you to get the out at first. Because if you want to get both outs without having to run up and tag, which takes longer and is not as guaranteed of an out as force outs are, you're going to throw the force out at second, and then they're going to throw it back to you to get the out at first to get a double play. And let's say that you fail to get the double play. Let's say that it takes too long to get the second out at first. They beat out the throw. That's okay, because unless it is highly uncertain that you'll get the out at second, in which case just tag first, you'll want to throw it to second, because if you just get one out and you can get the out at second, that is better for two reasons. One, the one runner remaining is going to be further back from completing the run around the diamond to score, right? And number two, say that there was no outs in the beginning of that play. Then there's going to be one out, which means you only need 2 more outs to get out of the inning. So if the runner's on first, you can still have another attempt at that double play if the ball is grounded in the infield, right? However, if the one runner is on second, you can't do that double play, at least in that way. However, if the ball is lined to you and you catch it and the runner at second was like darting towards third, then you could throw it to second to force them out, because if you catch in the air, they have to go back, right? However, don't assume they're going to do that, because runners, if they're well trained, are going to be vigilant. Okay? When the ball is hit by the bat, a lot of these runners are going to take a split second to assess the situation. They're going to look at where the ball is going and take off if they think they're going to be safe. If they're not 100% sure that they're going to be safe by taking off to the next base, they're not going to unless it's a force. And of course, if you're at second and there's no one on first, you're not going to be forced to third. There's just no way. They might say, well, if the batting runner makes it to first, doesn't matter. The only time you're ever going to be forced to progress to another base from another base is when all bases from home are occupied. Because when that person hits the ball and they're forced to run to first, you can only have one person on a base at a time, right? So if the runner who's already at first stays there, that's going to be a bit of a conflict, right? Because you can't have 2 runners on first at the same time. And because of that, there is a rule that if you're on first and the ball's hit, you have to run to second to accommodate the batter running to first. And because of that, now it's treated like you're running to first again, except you're running to second. And of course, except you may have been leading off the bag, so you are closer to your target. And of course, you can't run through the bag and be safe off the bag. You have to stop at the bag from that on out. So there is that as well. Having said all that, pay close attention to the runners and observe their behavior, and you'll do great. Now, lastly, say that the ball is popped up and it's going a little ways into the outfield, onto the grass. What do? Do not wait there. If you are still the closest person to where the ball's going to land, you go for it. And sometimes it's going to be an area where it's like kind of sort of halfway between you and another player. So what you're going to want to do is communicate. If you are 100% sure that you're going to catch the ball, yell, "I got it," to call off your opponents. They will back off so that you can get it. You do not want a collision with the second baseman and the right fielder. Okay? You don't want that. Now, shallow outfield is fair game to infielders because the outfield is much bigger of a space than the infield, and there's a good chance the outfielder is going to be playing way back. So if the ball is popped up and it's going to land in shallow outfield, not a good chance that the outfielder is going to make it there by the time it hits the ground. So infielders absolutely should consider running a little ways in the outfield so they can catch the ball. Okay? It's not invading the outfielder's territory. Remember, you're all the same team. Positions only matter in the sense that the field is well covered to get any spot where the ball is going so that you can get the ball and make the play. Okay? Now, if you catch the ball in the outfield and there was a runner in first, you can always throw back to first, assuming that somebody is covering first. Now, I was talking to one of our pitchers and reminding them that in this circumstance where the ball is popped up and the first baseman has to run out a little ways in the outfield to get it, if there's somebody on first, the pitcher's got to cover first so that if the runner is advancing and has to go back, you can throw them out. Or if they're not advancing, having first covered will incentivize them to stay back instead of going forward, because if they do go forward, it's going to be harder for them to get back safely. If they don't go forward, then it's probably influenced by the pitcher being there. But either way, it's best to have everything covered. Okay? Good. Well, all right. Now, let's take the field. I'm going to grab my bat, and we're going to do some drills. All right, let's go do it.